Hey! What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be checking out Bandai's latest Master Grade SD, MGSD here of the Gundam Aerial. Of course, I'm a big fan of this series. I love it a lot. If you guys are Master Grade fans, I would definitely recommend checking them out. They're great, they're fantastic, so let's go ahead and check out the Gundam Aerial here for today's video. It's a pretty interesting box art here on the front. I like that it's unique. I'm not sure it's like really my favorite way to kind of like show off the kit. I like that it's different from just like your standard kind of shooting action pose though, so I do appreciate that. What do you guys think about the box art here for this one? No matter what you think about the pose, it certainly does look really cool there with all the details. You can also see all the decals on here as well. Not all lines do this, and I think even Master Grades, not all of them even show this, where they show like all the markings on the box art as well, but it's cool to see that. On the ends of the box, just going to be the same thing there, but if we go down here onto the bottom side, here we can see some more about the kit there in an action pose, and then some of the moving features there. There you can see with all the gun bits spread out, but you do need the sold separately Wedge for Mercury weapon display set, so that is unfortunately not going to be included with this. And of course, we got the standard weapons of the shield, the beam rifle, which also acts as that massive like beam saber sort of effect part, and then your regular beam saber there as well. And here you can see some of the option parts for the chest. Basically for the shell unit parts, you've got some options for those. It's more about the articulation and posing there. And on the top of the box, we got the front view, rear view, and look at the interior skeleton of the kit, the inner frame, and then this is letting you know that it's going to be 11.5 centimeters tall, about the height of a standard HG kit, but of course with all the complexity of an MG, including really cool parts like those detailed eye parts, and then some bits of the metallic frame like poking out through the armor here and there that just looks so good. So there's a little bit here more about the Master Grade SD line, and as you can see, everything on the box art is in Japanese and in English, which is awesome. But let's go ahead and dive in here. We'll check out the sticker sheet here. It's right on top. Probably won't be using these. I would recommend to just wait and get a set of waterslide decals if you want to add some decals to your kit, but you can add these. It's just gonna be the same as like any real grade or like most Master Grade sticker decal sheets here. They're gonna look okay, especially on the white parts, but on any of the colored parts, they're not going to look quite as nice. And then there are no foil decals, so we can just get right into the instruction manual with this really nice sample image there, which looks like it's like a sample build of the kit, but I think this is actually just another CG render, but it does look really cool. Here on the front of the instruction manual, on the back side is going to be our painting guide here. The colors, it's pretty standard Gundam colors essentially, so nothing really too crazy there, but some detail images right here just kind of for your reference. On the front inside page is going to be our parts list. Obviously you're going to be using everything. There's not going to be any recycled runners with a kit like this. And then we're getting right into the construction, actually starting off with the weapons first, which is certainly different. That's not very normal. I don't even think even other MGSD kits started out like that, so it's something kind of unique anyway, so that's kind of cool. You go through the rest of the construction and you get to the center pages here where we have a bunch more information, also showing off like the opening of the cockpit there, and most of the stuff we saw on the outside of the box. But again, some cool reference images for posing, some more details about the kit, separation of the gun bits, and everything is in English here as well if you want to read up on any of that. The rest of the manual here looks like it's just going to be finishing up the construction, and then I would imagine here at the end, yep, is going to be our marking location for all those sticker decals, letting you know where those are going to be placed around on the main unit and on the weapons. And with that, let's go ahead and check out the runners. Now, naturally, we do not have any polycaps with this, so here's runner A1 and runner A2, which is a copy of this section of the runner here, which is quite interesting. Here on runner A1, we have these blue parts, yellow over here, red down there at the bottom, and it is in like a metallic red, kind of a smoke clear up here at the top. This is going to be those clear parts for the shell unit, and this is for underneath the clear parts, basically like what we saw with the full mechanics kit. In this case, it's not plated red, but it's just like a molded metallic red. But on runner A2, it has a copy of that section, and you can see it's in a molded kind of metallic blue there. So that's going to be your option, whether you want to have one or the other underneath. Runner A2 also has the addition of a couple more yellow parts on there, and then our clear green parts up here as well for going in the head cameras and eye parts there in clear green. Runners B and C are going to be all of our white parts here for the kit. There's runner B, and then runner C, we have two of those parts for the arms and legs and anywhere where those are going to be doubled. And then runner D is going to be a few parts here in a little bit off-white, sort of light gray kind of color there. That also looks nice. Runner E here in a clear fluorescent green is going to be our parts for the beam sabers and the beam effect part. Interestingly, this is actually a recycled runner from the HG 144 scale Gundam Aerial kit. So when I said earlier that there was going to not be any recycled runners, I guess I was wrong. Runner F then is going to be some of our like silver metallic parts for the frame. A lot of this is going to be like poking out through the armor, so we will still be able to see a good amount of the silver poking out there. That'll be nice. And then basically the rest of our parts for the inner frame here on runners G, H1, and H2. But you can see runner G is in a much darker gray. Runner H is a slightly different color, kind of a little bit more bluish gray. So there is going to be kind of a two-tone dark gray color there to the inner frame, but runner H1 and then runner H2 here as well, which also has the parts for the rifle there, as you can see. Lastly, then runner I is just going to be our red parts for the kit, and that's it. So let me go ahead and get this all put together and we'll check it out. All right, guys, here she is all built up. Lovely little kit here once again for this line. Just the construction of it, really nice. I really enjoyed the building process for this one. A lot of really great details, a lot of really interesting engineering in there to make sort of what is, again, just essentially like a master grade, but now shrunken down into this size and to these proportions and everything. So always very unique building experience building one of these MGSD kits. That's one thing that I really like about them as well. So the kit looks great, and it comes with, I think, almost everything that you could want. There's one thing missing that I think you guys could probably guess what I'm going to say that I wish this included, but we'll get into that. Let's go ahead and start off here taking a look at its accessories. So first off, we've got all our typical weaponry here, like the beam rifle. This one pretty simple in terms of the construction, really only like two halves. There's a separate part for the white part there at the top, and then two little parts here for these little pegs there that will fold out on either side. There and there for storage. And so yeah, not really the most complex weapon here, but a nice sort of SD, sort of chibi, slightly different proportioned design. That said, the design here at the front has to be exactly the same, because as we saw in the unboxing portion, the effect parts are the same from the HG, so this effect part will just fit right into the front of there like that. Our other effect parts, of course, just being for the beam saber handles, which are stored up here in the backpack, so those can just pop out. You ideally do not want to pop out this gray connection bit. That's what they're supposed to be plugged into. That should stay in the backpack. Fortunately, pretty easy to get that back in there, but kind of don't like the fact that that popped out so easily when just trying to remove the beam saber handle off of there. Also, the way the beam saber handle is designed, it's two parts, but not like normally it would be like the main handle and then this like end part would be a separate piece, but it's two parts that fit together, and it makes you think that like there's some sort of like mechanism or gimmick or something built into the beam saber handle, but not. It's just like the way that it goes together. It's kind of odd. Interesting though. As you can see, this side does have a hole in it though. That's for plugging into the hand, so you can get a nice firm grip on that. If you look here on the inside of the hand there, you can see there's that little tab sticking out right there. That's where the beam saber handle is going to plug into there. And the rifle, I should mention, also has that same spot right there in the handle to plug into the hand, so you can get a good firm grip on that. As our hands is not really an accessory because we don't have any other optional hands, just these ones here, but I'll just make a note that the first finger is on a ball joint, the second, third, and fourth finger are joined on two ball joints there, and then the thumb is on a separate ball joint, of course. So that's going to be the extent of our articulation for the hands, or for the fingers anyway. The hand itself is also on a joint which will hinge there at the wrist, and that's attached in via a ball joint. But like I said, we'll get back to some more about the articulation here in a little bit. We do also, of course, have the shield, which is quite complex. This was like what you build first. So going through the manual, you build the rifle, which was fairly simple, and then you build the shield, which was quite complex. I felt just the way that this all fits together, all the different pieces, because this, of course, can be all disattached in order to have the Gundam bits flying separately. No, we do not have an included effect stand for that. That's something that I feel like I really wish would have been included, but unfortunately that's still going to be sold separately. But all these parts can, of course, fit onto the Gundam itself, depending on how you want to display the Gundam bits. I really like the look and the design of the shield, to be honest, so I kind of really like it like this, but they do look good kind of all attached onto the Gundam, and we'll see how that works. But you can see around here on the Gundam, you've got the hard points there on the shoulders, here on the side of the hip, on the back skirt section, the back, kind of back of the hips, the backpack here, and the back of the arms. So you've got all these hard points around on the kit that you don't necessarily have to use for the gun bits. If you wanted to customize this, those are just your standard 3mm hard points, so you could plug any sort of like optional detail parts or weapons parts or something onto there too if you wanted to. We'll take a look at the gun bits in action once we get into the posing section of the video, but I just want to also point out last of our accessories is just going to be optional parts here in metallic blue for the shell unit parts. These are all meant to replace the red parts underneath the clear parts here if you wanted to have the permit score 6 blue parts in there. Now fortunately it's really easy to do that, because all the clear parts are designed to be easily removable. Like here for the head, easily enough, you just pop that off. You can then pop out the red part. Here on the backpack, this kind of lifts up and then folds out like that. And again, you can just then remove the red part, replace it with the blue part, pop that back in. Here on the shoulder, for example, this pops out this way and then opens out like that, and it even like pops out the part for you there. That's really cool. Here on the chest, these parts here on the side kind of open out like that. Then you can remove the clear part and then remove the red part, swap it out for the blue part. And then finally for the legs, we're just going to bend the knee back, and then this part here should hinge down to open up like that. Then again, you can just remove the red part and replace that. So really pretty ingenious design in order to very easily be able to swap those parts, because it would have been kind of annoying if it wasn't, and like if you did want to swap them and you have to disassemble a whole bunch of the kit in order to swap out to the blue part. So I'll show you guys how those look again once we get into the posing, but a little bit more just on the articulation here. As we've seen with these kits in the past couple of releases, the articulation is really good. So here, like the neck can extend all the way up to there, which is really nice. In the torso section, you have a nice bend back, and forward's going to be a little bit limited there, but a nice extension backwards, and then especially with the head up like that, it'll make for some really nice flying poses. Here in the chest, you also pull out that yellow bit there, open out the cockpit hatch, and then you can see our cockpit inside. Now, it is just like a molded cockpit detail. There's no seated pilot figure that goes in there or anything, but that looks really cool there as well. The shoulders can swing forward and back, and of course you can extend the shoulder armor up there, the arms out, and ultimately pretty high there. Then we're just going to have standard articulation of rotation at the bicep, a double joint at the elbow, giving you a nice full bend there. It's really cool how the elbow is designed, that kind of lower dark gray part there kind of tucks inside the arm as you bend the arm up like that to give you a good point of articulation. The hands we did talk about already, but going around here to the backpack, these side parts, you have the center part and the side parts of the backpack. The side parts will move a little bit here as well, and then the beam saber handles can move there on just that piece that popped out earlier. Back around to the front skirt sections, these front little bits here are on ball joints and can move a little bit. You even have that silver piece underneath with some of that silver poking out through the front. These side skirt parts here will lift up and down a little bit. The hip joint will allow for the leg to come all the way up to the front, very far, all the way out to the side. It's going to pop out there if I pull it out all the way. There we go, all the way out to the side there like that. So really nice range of movement there, even for these short little legs with these very thick thighs there. You get a nice double joint there at the knee, giving you a full knee bend as well. And the details here around on the leg also look really nice, with those sort of like cloth cable parts being not an actual cloth but just a molded plastic detail to look like a sort of like cloth cable covering. I really like that, I have to say. I definitely prefer that over like an actual like cloth tube part that we sometimes get in like different model kit versions of like the Gundam Mark II, for example. And then down here at the feet, these front kind of feet ankle guard parts here are attached just via a ball joint, and as you can see, it does kind of pop off sort of easily there, so just be careful with that. You do have a separate toe piece which will bend there a little bit, and then the whole front of the foot can also move independently like that as well up underneath the feet. Nice full detail there. And then the way that these feet work is that they will rotate side to side here for your ankle movement like that. So really nice articulation here with this one. And then aside from all that, just some of the great staples of this line is those eyes. Having that molded silver part behind the clear lens parts for the eyes just makes the eyes look really nice. Little bits of silver from the frame poking out through the armor, like up there on the V-fin, here on the shoulders, there on the front skirts, as I mentioned. So a ton of really great details on this one that make it look really nice. And then of course you do have the sticker decals you can use on it too if you wanted to. Right, so there you have it, guys. We'll take a look at the kit here in a few different poses. The weapons are nice. You know, it's your standard loadout, beam saber, beam rifle, shield, but some really cool stuff that you can do, particularly with the shield. I mean, the shield being able to separate into the gun bits, then being able to either be flying separately on the not included stand, but if you have a weapon stand you can use for that, or just being able to attach those back onto the Gundam. I do like how the beam rifle at least mixes it up a little bit with being able to use that large beam effect part on the beam rifle. At least kind of makes it a little bit different than your standard just kind of Gundam beam rifle in terms of like what it can do. So some cool options that you can do with the kind of very standard weapon loadout here for this. Also with the ability to change those shell unit parts in there is definitely one advantage that this kit has that obviously other versions of this kit don't have, something that you can do. And then also the fact that you can do it very easily with the way that I showed you guys, how you can just remove those clear parts easily in order to swap the shell unit parts inside. So that all works really nicely. So there's definitely some advantages that this kit has that other versions of the kit don't. That said, let's talk about the other versions of this kit, because we do have the full mechanics kit, which is essentially a master grade. It's very, very close to being a master grade. You can also get extra like add-on parts set, which I have done a video on in the past, which essentially makes it even more like a master grade by adding like a opening cockpit gimmick into the torso of that, so you can basically convert it to even more of almost a master grade. But considering that we have the full mechanics kit already out and now this MGSD kit out, I have to say it's probably going to be a while until we ever get like a full-on just like regular master grade aerial Gundam. I think probably we will eventually get one, but the fact that we have these two releases out now means that it's probably going to be a little while before Bandai will go ahead with making a regular master grade of this, because if you wanted a really nice 100 scale kit, you've got the full mechanics. If you like the styling of the MGSD, then this is a great master grade option for you as well. So you definitely have some really nice options if you're a fan of the series, if you're a fan of the Gundam, and even the HG. I mean, like, I'll tell you guys, the HG is fantastic as well. If you've not yet built the HG, I would highly, highly recommend that one. So basically, if you're a fan of the Gundam Aerial, you've got a lot of great options there. You kind of can't really go wrong with any version of the kit that you wanted to pick up, so that's great. But this one definitely a really great option as well. If you guys missed the live stream build of this, you can go back and check that out, where I just obviously went through the whole build of the kit if you wanted to see that in a bit more detail. But if you want to check out the kit for yourself, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store right down there below the video. We've got this kit and a whole bunch of other great stuff there on the website, of course, so check that out. And as always, guys, thanks so much for all of your support. If you enjoyed the video here today, make sure to leave a like. If you're not yet subscribed, you can subscribe by just hitting the button right down there below as well. And until next time, hope you guys are all having a great day. See y'all later. Bye.